So I'd like to share in my Dharma talk, extend our Ango theme of practicing non-knowing intimacy with the world. Almost all of you have been practicing with the Sangha during the Sangha period, so you've been practicing with this theme, with this practice. How do we practice non-knowing? What does that mean? How do we do it? What are the obstacles to doing it, particularly with respect to being intimate with ourselves, being intimate with others, and then being intimate with the world as it meets us. So we're looking at this third part, being intimate with the world as it meets us. What does Zen say about how to do this? The way that's truly in accord with our deepest, biggest nature. Not our small nature, the self-sense that we typically define ourselves at, but we know for the most part how to act in accord with that personality. We've kind of rules and mores and philosophies, if you will, that kind of govern that. But how do we interact with the world when we're governed by the deepest understanding of ourselves as one with the universe? Not separate. It's kind of a different way, a deeper way of engaging. So let's explore this. In my Monday talk, I introduced a koan, and I'm going to bring it back in, and then I'm going to extend it as I promised on Monday. So I gave you all a teaser about today's Dharma talk. So that koan was Book of Equanimity, case 50. Seppo's What's This? In the first part of that koan, Master Seppo, after practicing for many years with Master Tokusan, was dwelling in a hut. And two monks came and they both made prostrations. And Seppo, having seen them come from afar as they were doing their prostrations, he threw open his hut door, burst outside, and he shouted, "What's this?" One monk repeated, "What's this?" And Seppo hung his head and went back inside the hut. Poor monk. He wasn't ready for this level of encounter, with the master of Seppo's experience. So I've been talking about meeting the world, not knowing, looking at what's the posture we take. I mentioned it this morning and last night, and also over the last few weeks. What's the posture we take with respect to the world and others? So what's the posture of the monks here? Right? You could say that they're being reverential towards Seppo. Oh, here's the master in the hut and coming up and showing my regards. And, there's some truth to that. But right away, Seppo makes it clear, I'm not going to engage with you on that level. Okay? Let's really see what you got. Okay? I'm not going to go along with any of these cliches. You bowing down here. Right? So he just throws him a curveball. Right? And the monks can't adjust. Right? They can't really deal with it. Right? They just repeat what he says, which is, from a Zen standpoint, about the worst thing you can do. No living words, just trying to mimic the master and, oh yeah, if I just say what he says, then, maybe he'll think that I got it. We've all been there. I've done that. And people do that in Tokusan with me. But it's about the worst thing, you can do. You almost think like if he had just said, "Oh, I just came to see you," and was humbly honest with his confusion and fear, perhaps, or insecurity, it would have been much better, But he kind of has to bat it back. Right? Not very vulnerable in that. So this came alive to me in a different type of scene this morning. Right at the beginning of Samu, I was walking out in the back grounds, and I went over to the shrine in the back. Some of you, have noticed it, and it's very overgrown from where it was a few years ago when we did some services out there. It's very overgrown, and I noticed it, and it's really got this wildness, which I really loved. I just kind of appreciated this jungle shrine. I was in another world. Instantly, I was in a magical place. And at the same time, the Buddha statue was overgrown with these dead reeds that were kind of getting in its face and kind of occluding it. So I thought I wanted to clean it up a little bit and just pull back the reeds from its face. And I stepped onto the platform. So there's a wooden platform that's right in front of it that used to be stable, but has been, it's been decaying for who knows how long, and it's completely falling apart. And I stepped out onto it, and immediately my foot started going through these dead and dying planks, and it started shifting. And I said, "Oh, wow, okay, here's something here." And so I gingerly, I got really careful, and I gingerly walked around it, and I took care of the reeds the way I wanted to, and then I walked back. And I thought in the context of this koan, it would be like, the monks come up and they're going to do their bows in front of the statue, and they do their bows, and the planks are just going to fall away, and they're just going to keep doing their bows. They're not responding to the situation at all, right? This is the script. So to be alive, not with this, this script or what's holy or what you should be doing or what you should be saying. Be alive, meet the world immediately. So this koan refers back to an earlier koan, or I should say it's a koan that takes place earlier in the lives of Seppo and Ganto. It's actually later in the Book of Equanimity. It's case 55. But the part of it I want to bring out, well, I'm going to read the whole koan, but I'll say that there's a lot of facets to this koan, and I'm just going to explore the one facet that I think really relates to this non-knowing intimacy with the world. But there's a lot of different facets to this one. So this is Seppo the rice cook. So this is back when they were both serving in Tokusan's monastery. Seppo was the cook. Tokusan is about 80 years old, so it's later in his life. And Seppo is 41 years old, and Ganto, his Dharma brother, is 35 years old. Okay, so Seppo served as cook while at Tokusan's monastery. One day the meal was late. Tokusan arrived at the Dharma hall holding his bowls. Seppo remarked, "Old fellow, the gong hasn't rung yet. The drum hasn't sounded. Where are you going with your bowls?" At that, Tokusan returned to his quarters. Seppo told Ganto about this, and Ganto remarked, "As you might expect, Tokusan doesn't yet understand the last word." Hearing of this, Tokusan called an attendant to summon Ganto and asked, "Don't you approve of this old one?" Ganto whispered his intended meaning, whereupon Tokusan desisted. The next day, when he went to the Dharma hall to speak, Tokusan was not the same as usual. Rubbing his hands and laughing, Ganto cried, "Luckily the old fellow has understood the last word. From now on, no one under heaven will be able to prevail over him." Okay. So, Seppo's the cook, and the meal's late. It's a part of this koan that actually I just kind of appreciated. Why is the meal late, Seppo? Okay, but Tokusan is coming, probably at the usual time, but the gong hasn't rung yet, because Seppo hasn't rung the gong. So Seppo, "Well, master, the gong hasn't rung yet. Where are you going?" Boy, tricky fellow, Seppo, huh? How does Tokusan respond? This turns and goes back. Okay, so let's look at that part right there, that encounter. Tokusan, for most of his life, was a very fiery teacher, very strong. Really got in people's faces, very strict. But he's very mellow, very much mellower, at this time in his life. And he never would have done this when he was, probably even 60 years old, is my guess. Here he's really mellowed beautifully. He doesn't explain himself. He doesn't criticize Seppo for having the meal late. He doesn't engage at all. Nothing. And I can see it. There's not a glint in his eye. There's not a raised eyebrow. There's not an expression. There's nothing. Seppo's put that out there, and there's nothing. No hook at all. Oh. The gong hasn't rung yet. Let's go back. All the drama that's going on in Seppo's life, you can see, we can feel it here many centuries later, right? We can see what's going on here. He's defending himself because the meal is late. He's maybe a little snarky, with respect to Tokusan. He's been with him for a while. Maybe he feels he can be snarky. Maybe a little righteousness. Hey, come on, you wait for the gong, All that drama going on, Tokusan doesn't bite one bit. Tokusan's response is a really great model. I've aspired to this level of presence in many, many, many instances, since becoming aware of this, which was decades ago. It's really something you can carry forward with your life and practice. I wish you well in that practice. So whenever anyone, points out something to you in this way, that makes you feel insecure, makes you feel like you made a misstep, confuses you, puts you on the defensive maybe, or they're presenting their own kind of righteousness or defensiveness. How about this? How about just nada? My teacher, Shishin Roshi, he manifested this to me so many times. So many times. Shinko Roshi also, so many times. You can miss it. You can miss it in your teacher, especially if you might think you got away with something. I did. Put something out there, and then I realized I might have overextended. And it's just nothing. So now let's look at Seppo. He kind of thinks he's put one over on Tokusan maybe, or we've talked about the different things that might have been going on with him, right? And it was meaningful to him because he goes and he tells Ganto about it, right? Hey, check this out, right? If he were as transparent and as, absent, egoless, the word we use, as Tokusan was, it wouldn't even be noteworthy. Tokusan certainly didn't, have anything to say about Seppo, right? But Seppo had something to say about Tokusan, and he tells Kanto. Right, so, Seppo, if we look at Seppo and we say he's righteous, there's something righteous there. This is something that's coming through for us in this Dharma, is not to be righteous. Not because you're not right. You might even be right. But it's because being righteous is out of accord with our true nature. Our true nature dictates different rule set, a different way of being, a different posture with respect to the world. And righteousness is not the posture that's in accord with your nature. defensiveness is not a posture that's in accord with your true nature. Separating ourselves and holding on to that opinion, that perspective, that role, that's not in accord with your true nature. Now, Ganto kind of has an interesting way of bringing out this whole episode as a teaching for everybody, especially Seppo. He almost like hyperbolizes the whole thing. He actually he affirms, in a sense. He like blows it up, what Seppo is saying. He's like, oh yeah, Tokusan's totally lost it. He doesn't get it at all. Right? So it sounds almost comical, but you know, how do we respond when we put out our opinion, you know, especially when it makes us look good, and then we have somebody, yeah, damn, you are right. Those people are stupid. Yeah, they don't get it at all. And then what goes on in here? Even bigger, the inflation feels good, maybe. Yeah, Ganto keeps pumping the balloon. All right. Now Tokusan hears about this. So that exchange is, you know, interesting too, and that's a part of the koan that we look at. But I want to jump to the end here. Right. So let's see. Oh yeah, so the next day Tokusan gives his Dharma talk again. And the koan says that it wasn't the same as usual. And Ganto kind of affirms this and says, oh my God, yes, he's got it. Okay. So, a testing question for this koan is, you know, well, was it any different? How was it different? Okay, certainly Ganto's making it out to be different. Right? But we've been here before. You know, Ganto validating, on the one hand, he's lost it, and now he's got it. Are we supposed to believe this? Hey, again, so both sides. And put yourself in Tokusan's place. You're criticized. You're judged. And then you're celebrated and you get your accolades and praise. Yeah. Do you let this define you? Do you let this sway you? Is this what's important to you? Is this the truth? Is this your truth? What they're saying about you? At the end of this koan, Ganto remarks, we were born of the same branch, but we will not die of the same branch. If you would know the last word, it is just this. Okay, so this whole matter of the last word is what comes up here. You know, Tokusan doesn't know the last word. And then, he's got the last word now. So this question of the last word is kind of a Zen trap. Okay? What's the last word, the final word, the conclusive word? What's the truth? This is where we have to be careful. Okay, we're all at various levels seeking the truth. You know, we want to rest on it. We want it to We want to be in alignment with it. We want to organize ourselves around it. We want to be right. Truth is power. Right? So we can ask this question about what is true in a few different ways that I think are helpful to look at. We can ask, what's true for you? Right? It's a good question. What's true for you? It asks about your subjective experience. Right? It's a good question, but it's maybe limited. It's limited to your subjective experience. Okay, I feel a certain way. I have certain opinions. I've had this experience. Okay, that's great. That's true for you. Then on the other side, we can ask, well, what's true? Objectively true. Not for you, but what's the truth? So, some kind of question or claim about objective reality, right? So we all know that that's problematic, right? We're all good postmodernists. We realize that that's all in play. Okay. But my question is, what is your truth? Which is different for what is true for you. What is your truth? It's in between those two. What's the truth of your life right now? Not necessarily just your experience of it, but what is the truth of your life right now? What's truly going on with you? It's not always a simple answer. It's not always accessible to you, but it's a good question. It's a good question because it prompts you to be fully present and fully honest with yourself about who you are, what's driving you, what's motivating you, and how you're feeling. It's not about your ideas for the future or your interpretations of the past. It's about right now. So when I ask myself, what's the truth of my life right now, it can include quite a bit in that domain. If I'm present, and I'm present in this moment, I have to look at my practice in this body, in this zendo, my role as a teacher in this sangha, my participant in this session. My relationship with my wife and family is present for me right now. The sky is present for me right now. COVID is present for me right now. Racial injustice is present for me right now. This Kyle Rittenhouse verdict came out yesterday, I think it was. It's very present in my life right now. I can't say that those things are not present. I don't want to say those things are not present. Maybe I do want to say those things aren't present. I take that back. There's a part of me that would like to say those aren't present, but those things are present for me right now. So my practice is to ask what is truly present in my life right now. That's how I'm going to get at what is my truth. And these are all part of it. They're all included. So what's included in the truth of your life right now? Your practice, your relationships, your sangha, your community, the planet. So another way to ask this might be in Seppo's condensed and rather interrogational, what's this? I don't think I would have responded well if Seppo popped out and said, what's this, like this, to be honest. It feels like kind of, maybe a little aggressive, but that was his way, at that time. What's this? It doesn't have to be, what's this? It can be, what is this? It could be, what's this? That's what Shishin says in his commentary on this koan. He says it doesn't have to be a question even. It can be more like an exclamation. Right? What's this? I don't know why I said that with an accent. For some reason, it sounds better with an accent. Well, now, what's this? What's this we have here? Right? Oh, Zen practitioner walking down the path. What's this? Oh, it's this apple tree. Overripe apples just hanging there, ready to fall. What's this? It actually takes a lot of strength and resilience to meet the world this way, to maintain this posture of openness, of inquiry, and of presence with yourself. It does. I won't pretend it doesn't. It does. And you do need to stabilize your posture, your physical posture, like I talked about this morning, your physical posture, your emotional posture as manifested in your breath, and then your mental posture as is manifested in your quality of concentration of your mind. It takes a stability and a samadhi, energy of concentration, in order to maintain this posture, to meet the world in this way. And this is the posture that's in accord with your true nature. And this is what is most important. Not so much the posture that's in accord with your personality, but of your true nature, which is one with all things, not separate. You've got charge of your posture. It's one thing you have a lot of influence and control over. So that's what you can work with best. Okay, I hope this has been an interesting and fun talk. It's almost like a movie, the Seppo and Ganto epic with different scenes. We've only done 2 or 3 scenes from their life, and there's more. But I love it very much, and I hope it's been intriguing for you, and hopefully inspiring. So let's enjoy the rest of the session.